Hey friends, welcome to the channel. Today we're talking about food shortages, what you can do to prepare, and will they get worse? Let's talk about it. So friends, if you're watching this video, you are concerned. You're concerned about what's going on with the economy. You're concerned about what's going on with your local grocery store. And if you know a farmer, you're concerned about what's going on with them. Well, today we're going to take a multi-pronged approach. We're going to talk about short and long-term strategies that you can do to help with this, in my opinion, inevitable food shortage that's coming to our country. So first, let's talk about what is happening. And of course, as all of you know, we have record inflation, the most we've had in over 40 years. I remember my parents talking about the interest rates for homes and things when I was little, while they tried to stave off inflation that was happening back in the early 80s. Well, that same thing is happening again, although this time it's a slight bit different. We won't get into the nerdy economic talk about it, but we will talk about what is happening right now. So we've got inflation in food prices, we got inflation in fuel prices, and the inflation in fuel prices directly relate to the inflation in the food prices. Farming costs are increasing a lot, but that increase pales in comparison to the increase in the transport costs of the food. Our country can grow a lot of food, and it's enough to feed everybody 10 times over. We can do it with no problem. However, it's getting that food from the field to your mouth and through all the channels it has to go through. That's what's costing so much, because diesel fuel prices are outrageous, and it doesn't look like that's going to slow down anytime soon. That is disrupting the supply chain really, really bad. Now, we've also started to rely on other countries for our food, and that's hurting us even more, because obviously shipping and transport costs is much greater when you're coming from wherever things come from. China, Europe, South America, doesn't matter. Now, there are some other smaller factors that are playing into this. Russia and Ukraine. I know a lot of you are going to say that that is the big main contributing factor. Well, it's not. It's a tiny contributing factor. Russia and Ukraine do produce a lot of wheat and grains, but they're still behind us in that production. So like I said earlier, our country can produce enough food, but it's the other costs that are the problem when it comes to producing that food and getting it to us. Now, there's something else that's happening that's very, very strange, and that's we've got food facilities, food producing facilities or farms that have burnt down, like 25 this year so far. It's very strange, and it's never happened at that frequency before. So that's another contributing factor. Last contributing factor is weather. So we've got some unusual weather problems, like say Brazil's in a drought right now, and their soybean crops are being wiped out. We grow a lot of soybeans here in the US, so that shouldn't affect us with that, but that is affecting other countries. Okay, enough about the why. Let's talk about the what to do about it. Now, of course, the first thing that you can do is to start growing food for yourself. And friends, if we started growing food for ourselves and started using local farmers, we could solve this problem pretty easily. So obviously that is the first strategy. Friends, I want you to start a garden in your backyard, just like they started victory gardens during World War II. And friends, if you're saying you don't have time to do that, you got to make time, because if you don't have any food, it doesn't matter if you go to work every single day, make a whole ton of money. Well, if there's no food at the grocery store to spend it on, then you got a problem. So I know a lot of you watching are in the city. You're in an apartment, you're in a small suburban lot. Small suburban lot, you can do a lot. So you can go and check out urban farmer Curtis Stone. He has farmed in the city for years, or at least he did. He's moved out of the city because he knows what's coming. But he used to run Green City Acres, I believe it is, in Vancouver. You can check out what he's done to utilize every inch of his property in the city to grow food. Now, for those of you who are in a small apartment, you got to work toward getting out of the city. Now, before I talk about more short-term strategies to be able to combat this food shortage that is coming, let's think about some long-term ones. And that includes getting yourself into a place where you can grow your own food. So, if that means that you need to cut all your expenses and put every dollar toward paying off your debt so you could move somewhere, do it. If that means pooling all of your resources, leaving your job, finding another job in the countryside, finding a country property, do it. If that means getting together with other people and doing something like that, do it. Do what you have to do because this food shortage issue is not going away. I've got a video on the survival crops that you need to grow that are going to give you the most calories and the most nutrient density. So click on that video at the top of the screen if you want to know what to grow in that garden. So I also did a video about how big your garden needs to be. The quick answer to that is as big as you possibly can make it. And there's a certain square footage that might be able to feed your whole family, but I'm telling you right now that this big garden right here and all of those fruit trees over there is not enough to feed my family yet. But we are working on it. So again, before I get to those short-termers, and some of these might blend together, short-term, long-term, maybe they're mid-term, but another long-term strategy is if you can't move out of the city right now because of your debt load, because of other things, I want you to pay off the debt first. Then I want you to find a country property. And if you find that property and you can't get out of the city as of yet, I want you to try to purchase that property and start planting fruit trees, because these will take a good 5 years to produce properly. This one is just a year and a half old. It's a pear. It's doing well, but it hasn't fruited yet. And I'm gonna have to probably wait a little while for that to start producing enough to actually be substantial. So if you find that land, start planting, because that's what we're talking about is food. So I know some of you out there are in an apartment in a city and you are trying your best. What can you do? Well, some short-term strategies are getting yourself to the grocery store and buying a couple extra things. And I recommend fresh fruits and vegetables. Now, what do you do with that? How do you store that? Well, you're gonna need to teach yourself how to preserve things. So water bath canning or pressure canning, I want you to pick up both of those items of equipment, and vacuum sealing and freezing, and also, if you can afford to do it, a freeze dryer. But you can also ferment your vegetables as well, and they'll stay for about 6 months. So we've done videos on all of those different processes, so click on the playlist at the top of the screen to see those. So we vacuum sealed frozen zucchini. This is the best way to do it, and it's in a nice compact package that stacks really well in your freezer. Of course, we can tomatoes, and if you're new to canning, this is absolutely the easiest thing to learn how to can. So start with tomatoes, pick up some extra organic tomatoes at your store. So I want to mention really quickly that if you are buying fruits and vegetables to can at home or to freeze dry or to freeze or whatever it is, pickle, I want you to get organic if you can afford it, because there's a list out there called the Dirty Dozen. It's like strawberries and apples and peaches and things like that they heavily spray. Grapes, they heavily spray with pesticides, and you really have to clean them well. But even if you clean them well, those pesticides do soak into the inside of the fruit or vegetable. So you're going to want to avoid those. Go check it out. Dirty Dozen, it's out there. It's pretty easy to find. And then I think there's something called the Clean 15. And those are the best ones to get, where you have a very low instance of pesticide getting through the vegetable if you're buying conventional. You're going to avoid all of that by buying organic. So you can see behind us, we've got some flour stored up. This is vacuum sealed flour. We've got vacuum sealed oats and rice. We've got dry canned things. We've got beans. We've got a lot of different things. And if you haven't seen our video on how many calories you need, I want you to go check that out, because for a family of 4, for us, for a year's worth of food in our stores, it's about 3.1 million calories, so that's a lot. So go check that video out and see what your family needs. So here's the best method for preserving your food, and that is a freeze dryer. I've got a fruit salad here that I did this year, and that's going to last me 25 years. And the weight on this is super light, and it's not going to go bad in these Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers. So I highly recommend doing this. But if you're looking for a short-term strategy, you can't afford to get one of these right away, buy some freeze-dried food to get you over that hump, or to have for a medium-term storage. So I want you to take all of these strategies, the short, medium, and long-term strategies, and you can mix them up, it really doesn't matter, and take those to heart, because these food shortages are not going to go away. They're probably going to get worse. So a lot of people will say, don't be so alarmist. Well, I'm not. I'm being practical. It's always practical to have something as a backup, right? Some people have an extra gas can in their trunk just in case they run out of gas. You have a fire extinguisher in your home just in case there's a fire. So why not have a garden and some extra food stores to be able to combat a nasty problem that all of us are going to go through? That's not alarmist, that's intelligent. Don't panic, keep calm, carry on, and prepare. That's it. So friends, you just have to do it. There's nothing you can do to stop what's coming. Even our own dear leader has said that there are food shortages that are coming. So if you're scared about that, take a deep breath. God will help you through it, but you have to move your feet as well. You can do it. Start gaining knowledge. Start getting those items I talked about. You're going to have to spend money on them, I know. A pressure canner, a water bath canner, which is not expensive at all, a small vacuum sealer, not expensive at all, an extra freezer, some canning jars, something. Just start acquiring those things, putting food in them, taking care of business, and you will be okay. As always, we have links below the video to everything we use and other videos that have helped us out. Now go click on this video right here for some tricks on how to vacuum seal in mason jars. Have a beautiful, blessed day. We'll see you next time.